Alright, so before we jump into this design session, I wanted to show you what you can find. For me, in my county, Kitsap County, Washington, this is our prescriptive construction details for residential decks. And if you notice right here, this says the illustrations and information in this supporting document may be used for decks whether they require a permit or not. You may modify any component contained in the construction details included with this supporting document with justification by analysis or calculation. Right? So that tells us right there we can break code. It's just you have to have a structural engineer sign that off. And that would be for instances like if you were going to do a hot tub, if there was some structure above it, a roof, many different situations could cause you to need to go, above and beyond or need to have documentation by an engineer, right? So outside of that, if you follow these prescriptive rules, you can design your decks yourself. And if you go through, and I'm going to try to, I don't know if you can see this or not, but I'll go through slow and maybe you could screenshot it. If not, just look up deck code for your county where you're from, right? This is my county stuff right here. And I know that in my county, for the most part, the surrounding counties, I could also design my stuff the same way, right? So next page right here. And this just tells you a bunch of different code requirements, and it gives you the IRC code right here, right? Which it says, like some stuff on here, all wood must be pressure treated or of natural resistance to decay. Fasteners must be stainless steel, hot dip galvanized, or as specifically required for the specific wood preservative used, right? Lateral connection is required to resist overturning. So there's a bunch of different things that you have to follow right here, right? It includes the IRC for that right there. They give you details for your lateral connection right here. They give you a basic layout for basic framing right here. And then it gives you extra notes. And what this note says is if your deck is located over the septic system, ensure access to septic lids and ports. Contact Kitsap Public Health for assistance. They've included a beam span. Also your deck footings, how big they have to be for the span that you got. This is your actual beam spans right here. Here's your joist spans without overhangs, with overhangs. So if you're going to do a cantilever and you need to switch charts, gives you more information right here for your ledger details. Another page for your handrails. Pretty basic stuff, right? ABC. 6-inch diameter, that's usually right here at your treads. 4-inch diameter in between your balusters. And ours, I guess, says for your stair balusters, you can be up to 4 3/8. Tells you your handrail heights. And then it gives you a little sketch if you want to do a site plan on here included with the scale for their grid. I'll try to hover again for a second. I don't know how legible it is if you try to screenshot this. So I'm just trying to pause while I hover over these pages. So if it is available for you to screenshot, if you can actually see it, then you'll have that information. If not, again, just go. I literally typed in my search, debt codes, Kitsap County, Washington, right? So I showed you in another video how to build your tools that you're going to use inside of Autocad. And now I'm going to get into this design that I got going on here. This is the house, and then this is going to be the deck right here. And then under the deck right here, there's going to be some storage. So the whole deck's going to get siding and everything, but there's going to be some storage right here under the deck. Right? So I got my new drawing template right here. I've already built my tools in that. This is an old drawing. I can just erase that and then make sure that when I'm drawing, I can, again, I got different objects. I got different lines I can do, right? So I'm going to draw on object 1 for now. Again, if you hover over a tool, it'll tell you a lot of times if they have a command key. I don't know why right now it's not doing it, but normally when you hover over it, it'll also say something about Control C or something, right? For example, I can start a line with L space, and it's going to bring up my line tool. But that's just me remembering. In here I got different ways I can grab this drawing. So I should be able to grab seems like it's not trying to do it right now. It should be snapping. There it goes, right there. I was just zoomed out too far. See how the cursor snaps now? I'm on grid snap because I want to start right here. So that's where I want my first line. I don't know why it's not working. Let me see. There it goes. I don't know, my computer's glitching up or something. So for me, a convenient place to start is right here. I'm just wrapping my brain around the drawing right now. Looks like I forgot to give myself some numbers. So I'm going to draw it differently. I'm going to start right here at this corner is what I'm going to do. Because I forgot to give myself some whole numbers here. So I'll just fill it in because this is really unimportant. These numbers are important because they're the true measurements of my deck. The house could be a little bit off if it, you know, and I can add that number later. I could stretch something if I need to. So I'm going line command, which I'm using the command keys, but you can pick it from right here, line. And then I'm going to type in the distance. I'm making sure I'm indicating feet or inches. And I'm not the fastest drafter in the world. I actually don't draft very often. Right there, I forgot to indicate feet, so it drew me a little line. Right here, I'm going to use my offset tool. So I'm going to do 4 feet. And that's just a guess because I forgot to get that number. Just did it again right there, I forgot. To indicate my feet. So give me a longer line there. And then from here, what I'm going to do, in order to find my center, I'm just going to go like this and draw a line straight across. And then I know my distance is 38 inches, so I'm going to go O space, which is offset. And now I'm going to set that to 38 inches. I'm going to offset that this direction. And if you look down here in your, this is your line snap settings. And I can, you don't want too many of these on at one time because then it'll start to try to grab too many different points on your drawing. So it can get convoluted. But if you keep like a few of your basic ones on at all times, like center point, midpoint, end point, intersection, then you can grab most of your main parts of your drawings. But because I don't know the exact I didn't know this exact distance because I didn't pull that number, right? So I can just infer from visually, you know, this is about 4 feet. And then I had this number and this number. So now I'm drawing this line and I can offset it. Then I can use my center point snap to draw this angle right here without even knowing the angle. which is this line right here. You see how that works? I just offset that 38 inches. Now I can erase this one so I can see what I'm doing. And now I can go L space, which is my line tool, and I can grip that point down to the center and then back. And that found me this here for the bump out. There's these bay windows right here. It looks aggressive in my drawing, but that was just me doing a quick sketch, right? It's actually only 38 inches. So I just trimmed that and then drew a new line there, and then that way I can offset these to my standard number, which I'll do 10 inches. Now I can offset this, right? See what I'm doing? I'm grabbing it and offsetting it. That's my stairs real quick. Now see, this came out short. I can just click the line and then grab that, and it'll give me two options right here, and I'll just go lengthen. I'll do the same thing over here. Lengthen. Now I can escape from that tool and I can go TR space, which is trim. Again, that's a command key for trimming. I can just trim those real quick. Right? So now I have my basic set of stairs right there. I can trim these two here, and that's where the deck turns the corner. See that? Alright, so there's this little set of stairs coming out here. So I did the same thing. I trimmed line. That way it's not offsetting the whole line. It's just offsetting that one portion of the line that I want offsetted, right? See that, how it highlights? I don't know if you can see that. And I'm going to do the same thing. I know it was about 3 stairs. So I can offset 10 inches. Right? I'm going to click the line, and I'm going to pull my cursor to the side that I want it to offset. Right? And I'm going to exit out of that tool. So escape. And then I'm going to go TR space. Now I can trim that again. And there's different trim options, but that's just the basic one for now. Now I got a little set of stairs right here, right? And down here I got another little platform.
more than one Aes Sedai to open the arches. So help me or leave. No. You were going to hurt yourself. You might even die. The best outcome here is one of the sisters will catch you and you will be expelled. You think I care about that now? Yes. Of course you do. I heard what happened at the funeral. The Trolloc attack. The death of so many people, including the youngest. She didn't die, did she? She survived, found you, and travelled with you here. It's pretty clear the great serpent ring was necessary for your knowing. But she still cared. For you. Do you really think Nynaeve would want you to throw away your life? Your future because she's gone? She's the strongest person I've ever known. How could you fail?
So right here I can trim all these. TR space. I can trim all that. See that? And all I'm doing is pressing the left click on the mouse. And that tool's active until I press escape. Alright, so there's the basic shape of my deck right there already, right? We're removing a deck that has roughly the same footprint, but it also has this lower pad right here. And I think at some point he wants to do like a paver patio or something right there. So they're going to do that later. But we're going to remove the whole thing. And then replace this shape right here is what we're doing. And there's like a little entry door right here so he can come out. And then like this is one example of right here where I'd want to do a hidden line, because I told you there's different line types. So right here I have a dashed line. I can do a hidden line, and I can pick this corner, and I can just, now that I got it, I can push my cursor to 90 degrees, and then I can type in 10 feet. And then I can do the same thing. Cursor that way 90 degrees. And I can repeat my 10 feet. And then I can go down here and connect it. And the reason that you want that dashed line is because you're showing another hidden object under your surface of your deck, right? Which is going to be, we're going to dig out this corner of the dirt, and we're going to build some kind of new retaining wall right here to hold the dirt up. And then that way he'll have a door right here, and he can access from flat down here, because right now there's a retaining wall and everything in the way, right? But if we dig down, rebuild it around, we can give him a 10 by 10 storage under the deck, accessing in and out on level ground, right where these bottom of these new stairs are going to land, right? So that's part of the job that we're hired to do, is we're going to remove this corner of the dirt, and then we got to do some regrading here after we dig our footings. I'm actually going to shrink this deck a little bit though, because the numbers that we actually pulled are 21 foot 5, but I would rather go 20 foot 5 to save on materials, and saving from having to splice the middle of this deck, right? Because our longest joist in pressure treated lumber is only going to come at 20 feet. So we're just going to max it out for the lumber that we're using, which we're going to use 2 by 10 lumber, right? So because I want to do that, I can grab all this stuff right here, space, and then I can grab a point to start from, and then I can go down 1 foot. And then I can move all this 1 foot, and then it'll be reoriented properly. Right? Now I can go into my measuring tool, which should be ME, and then it's right here. I can click it, measure geometry. It's telling me already right there, 20 foot 6 inches, which I can squeeze that with, because we're doing a surface mount post system anyways. So I can actually triple up the header out here, and that'll be 4.5 inches plus the ledger, right? That's going to give me 1.5 inches. So out of a 20 footer, and maybe if you get lucky, because sometimes our lumber comes at like 20 foot 1 inch, and they're actually pretty square. So every once in a while, you can max that out and just barely skim the edges out here after you snap a line, right? So this is what we're shooting for, regardless of the numbers that we pulled where the original deck is, because the original deck goes all the way through here, and then this lower platform is built off of it, so they were able to get an oddball number, right? So we're going to shrink the deck this way just a little bit, but we're raising it up to the actual height of the upper deck right here. And then the stairs are going to come down, you'll have access to the ground, and then over here later, like I said, they're going to redo a patio or something, paver patio, or maybe stamp concrete, right? So now that I'm to this point, and I'm just going to call this John Doe for now because I don't want to give out anybody's information, but go up here to save. Save as, sorry.
Is there anything better than earning thousands of Alaska Airlines miles flying on one of your global partners? Maybe being completely horizontal.
And I'll just call it John Doe deck for now. And then I'll put site plan. And I can do another save as real quick, and I can do John Doe deck framing. So now I have this saved as framing, and I could go through and start offsetting these real quick. Well, first I'll figure out where I want my breaker boards. So I can go to measure tool again. It tells me 45.5. And I'm just thinking off the top of my head, 48 feet. Usually I'll do 3/16 wide. Because even then it would be a little bit big with overhang. So I'm going to split this one in thirds is what I'm going to do. And then over here it'll just change direction. That's fine. so I know I'm going to have an 1.25 inch overhang on my surface. So I'm going 1.25 inches is what I'm doing. Now I have this other, I call it construction line. It's in yellow, so now I can draw all the way from out here to the other side at my 1.25 inch overhang. See, it's trying to snap too much stuff right now. I can get rid of the grid snap and it'll snap the end of my line. Something grabbed funny over here. Because that's not in plane with that, that's why. So I'll start at this end. Now it's straight, so then I can just lengthen. I can get my same 1.25 inch overhang. Now I can actually change this real quick. Let's just call it object 3 so it's a different color. And then I can click that and I can divide it by, so I can go DI and it's going to give me, or DIV, and it'll give me the divide tool. And I'll click that line and I'll enter the number of segments that I want. So I'm breaking it in thirds, so I want 3 segments. And that just split that in perfect thirds. And if you look real close, there's a node point under there. So I can click, go down here to my object snaps, and I can click node. And now it'll see I can click either the line or the point. So now I can go and I'll just stay in object 3 while I'm doing my framing. And I can go L space. Now I can click that node point and I can go straight up. And I just run it wild. It doesn't matter, right? I'll do the same thing over here. So that's splitting my surface right here in thirds. Considering my 1.25 inch overhang that I always do both directions that way, right? So that'll be center, so I know that I'm gonna have my picture frame framing there, so I can offset 2.75 inches. And I'll just measure geometry real quick to make sure that this is the same as the other one. 1410 and 13/16. 1410 and 13/16. So that's where my framing is going to be. Now I can offset that 1.5 inches. Now I know that I'm going to frame this deck at 12 inches on center. So I already went through and I calculated what I wanted and I wrote it down up here. I'm going to have 24-inch footings. I'm going to have 6x10 beams, 6x6 posts, and I'm going to divide my beam distances here to get me whatever's closest to 6 feet or under is what I want. Center of post to center of post for my beam span down here, right? I'm going to have one beam down here somewhere, and I'm going to have one up there somewhere. Which I can establish this one right now by going offset 1 foot.
How are you doing?
And so I don't confuse it, I'll just make that a hidden object because that's the edge of my beam down there. And then I'll go offset 10 feet. Whoops. This is supposed to be the outside edge of my deck. Let me see this real quick. I just gotta see how it's gonna work out. That's 10 feet, so I'm actually gonna leave that beam there. But it was this one I was supposed to offset a foot. So now you can see the edge of this beam and you can see the edge of this beam. And I'll just go ahead and offset those 5.5 inches. And then I'll just be able to see both sides of the beam.
Anyone says anything about the salt and surgery? You heard what I said about fire. It was 2 hours ago. What are you two smuggling about? It's been a while since you brought them in my home, huh? What is the third one going on?
I've been nice and busy. Well, one of them always checks on me when I step away.
How does it usually go?
Look, joke. That's at my age. I've had my hair.
I'm just lengthening these because this actually goes all the way through.
Warm memory. Something worth living for.
I got hyper focused and I was actually redesigning it like it had a upper and lower level there for a second. So now I can trim those again. Bam. There's my thirds here. And then these pieces will just be a little bit smaller. I'll have a breaker board over here somewhere. And then these ones will just switch directions. It's fine. That gets me my main body right here split evenly.
My knee is going into the arches. This is anyone's done since Cat's ways to die. I suspect it's only a matter of time until she's looking for a water herself.
So now I can drag this all the way through and offset that 1.5 inches.
Are you watching something new, Daddy?
I wish
Yeah.
I'd known more before.
I never watched this before.
Yeah, it's kind of
Before what?
I just got
not your style.
I'm washing my face.
Oh, okay. So now I got the edge of my framing here, and I can just go through and I can recolor this in this drawing to represent it as object 3 since I'm doing my framing. I can offset this my same 1.5 inches. Gives me that framing. It gives me that framing. That gives me that framing. Just going through and changing my stuff to the different colors, doing my little corner trim backs. Oops. If you press U space, it's undo.
I'd like some time alone with your home.
So you can see the framing starting to come together, right?
I should kill you where you stand.
You tried that once? So how are they treating you?
I forgot to fight without wings.
In your mind?
You are the reason I'm here instead of ascending the White Tower.
My yellow sisters wanted to study you, as did the browns, and I doubt you would have enjoyed either.
I doubt my enjoyment being so that much.
Have you started training him yet? Randall Thor.
So again, I'm just using the trim tool to just trim these ends off, right? This is my ledger right here, and this is my joist running into that.
You took everything from me. Everything. You really think our tongues are just strings for one?
I know what you really want. What organ cut off from the one path, designed next to the wall. You help me, and I'll help you. Where's he staying?
He's staying under me.
So again, if you click your line, and then you see the little blue point pop up, if you hover over that, it gives you two options. I use lengthen a lot, and you just hover and then you go down and click it with the mouse, and that just lets you slide it in plane with where it's already at, so it doesn't move. And I like to use that a lot, so it doesn't move on me, right?
You know about Channel. Everything. However long it takes. And at the end, if I'm satisfied with his progress, I'll leave the knife with him.
So again, escape, that lets you out of your tool.
I know what they say about me. About hopeless romantics. That we're weak, and I'm not weak. Something's different between us since you came back. She's an accepted now. It's not that. Maybe a little of that. No matter how much I want to help, I can't seem to say or do the right thing. And stop trying. You don't even know what happened earlier. Why do you feel like you have to fix it? Just like my friend. She was there for me last year when I lost someone I love more than anything.
Alright, so that's where I'm at so far. You can see my picture frame, and you can see the border, where the border is going to be, right, which is my outside rim and my ledger, right?
Like I used to be. Ever since I came here, this tower, I just feel smaller and smaller.
So then I would suggest, if you're just a beginner, go through each one of these tabs and just play with them. Start right here with the easy stuff. You got all sorts of different shapes you can draw right here. You got lines, polyline, right? If I want to do a polyline, then that's where I'm going to be going. You know, multiple lines in a row. And that'll all be considered one piece. You see that? If I wanted to break it apart, I can highlight it. And I can go EX for explode. And then it'll break it apart. Now they're all each individual little chunks. I can highlight all of them, and I can go E space, and it'll erase it. You got circles. Pretty basic, right? If you watch your cursor, when you click on something, so right here, let's say it'll say specify center point or circle. For circle, or, and it'll give you options. I could press down, and it'll give me more options. You see how my cursor snaps to points. That's because that's an intersection and it's an end point. If I go in here and I change on this little symbol here, hover over it, it'll say snap cursor to 2D reference points. If I click the little down arrow, that's where the options pop up. And I could set anything. Right? Right now it's set to where I can click endpoints, intersections. Right here it says specify radius of circle or, and I can press down and it'll give me an option for diameter. Once I click diameter, then it wants me to type in a number. So let's just say 10-foot diameter. And it just drew me a 10-foot circle. Right? You get into some of these right here, these stretch and scale and all that. They're not advanced, but they're a little bit more advanced, right? They're not just basic ideas. But let's just say I needed to reverse this right now. I could click up here, mirror, or I go MI, and then I'll pop up right here, mirror. I could grab all of these. Let's just say hypothetically I had it backwards. I could highlight all of it, and then it's going to say select objects, and then I space, and it's going to give me the first point that I want to mirror it off of. And I could do this at an angle too. You see how it's rotating? I could set an angle and I could mirror it here if I wanted to, right? But a lot of times what I do is it's just a matter of flip-flopping. So I'll click one point and then another vertical point straight from there, using my snaps, right? My grid snap or my object snaps. And then I'll go straight up from that and it'll just mirror it, flip-flop it straight over. And then it gives you an option. Do you want to erase your source objects? Yes or no? I'll click no. So it just gave me a mirror image. You see that? Sometimes that's important. For now, I don't need the mirror image, so I'm just getting rid of it. Some of these other tools, I really only used them when I was designing machine parts, right? Like the fillet, the chamfer, stuff like that is not really for two-dimensional drawings as far as houses go, right? There's not a lot of houses with curved edges and stuff like that. A lot of our stuff terminates, you know, on a straight corner or some kind of angle. but usually not curved, right? With the exception of like some bull nose, drywall, and some other situations. But when we were designing sheet metal and stuff like that, then there was a lot of chamfered edges and things like that. And then let's just say hypothetically, I had a corner here. I'm pretty sure I can go up here to the fillet. I can click these objects here. It should allow me to fillet. No, it's not letting me do it. It's only because I'm out of practice. Maybe if it was a closed shape. It's been so long since I used a lot of these tools. Now I could probably fillet this. Which fillet is just a curved corner. See what down arrow says. Yeah, I don't know why it's not working right now. I'd have to play with that. There you go. So it's just how I'm using the tool, because again, I'm not super used to some of these tools. A lot of that stuff again was what we were doing for sheet metal or machine parts and stuff like that, and that's not really where my interests were at. So I know more about making two-dimensional drawings. I could sit in here and play around. I have made some full-blown mechanisms that we were able to stress test and things like that in analysis tools and whatever, Autodesk SolidWorks or something like that, or whatever the program was. But a lot of the tools that I need to do these two-dimensional plans are just these basic palette tools right here. And then after that, you just need to learn how to annotate, which is how you're going to dimension stuff out, which I can just give you an example of that right now. I'll go over here to my dimension line because I want to draw it in that layer, right? And then I can click right here, dimension, and I can go ahead and give dimensions for from here to here. And I'll do an offset from object of 3 feet. So once you click the first and second point that you want to dimension, then pull the direction you want to dimension it. And for this example, I'm pulling it downwards. And then I'll click 3 feet. And it puts it about that far away in my drawing, right? 22 feet. I can do the same thing here. And I'll go 3 feet. I don't know why it shot it that far. Try that again. I don't know why it's acting funny. My computer's always been kind of garbage. I got it brand new like years ago, but it has always been kind of glitchy. Oops. Didn't mean to do that. There we go. I think it was just I have too many object snaps, I think, is what's going on. And so when I was completing the command, it was shooting it to one of the points it was grabbing from over there. But if you do it right, see how they're evenly spaced? For your drawing to be legible, you want all your stuff to be evenly spaced and professional looking, right? You do the same thing over here. I don't know why it's still acting funny. Oops, not line. Dimension. This right here is going to zoom you in and out. In and out. So if you zoom out and then move your cursor, see how I moved it right there? Now it'll zoom in on that spot. So that's, you can navigate that way very easily. See that? I can zoom in on different parts, zoom out, and it's very easy to move to a new point. So you got to kind of get used to doing that. There we go. Now it's actually 3 feet. Go in here and trim some of these edges off. And if you got 2 lines, it's going to give me the option. Go in here, I have some more objects to offset. That's the basics. That's what I got for you for now. That'll get you rolling a little bit. Get in there and play around, right? Thanks for watching.